Baseball is America's pastime. There's no question that baseball holds a special place in American culture. It has even at times been a driving force in American history. Through newspapers, box scores, and radio broadcasts of the games, players like Joe DiMaggio, Ted Williams, Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, and Hank Aaron became almost mythic figures. But they gave way to new heroes who displayed the beauty and athleticism that is baseball. Baseball has been played in cathedrals. Most of those old ballparks have now given way to more modern but beautiful ballparks. But this is not about baseball as an affinity space. No, the affinity space of which I will speak is made up of a vast subculture of baseball enthusiasts called umpires. When people hear I umpire baseball, they say, "Why would you do something where people yell at you all the time? How can that be fun?" But umpires, for the most part, really enjoy being out between the lines and still being involved with the game they love. Unless you're involved in it, you would not believe the shared passion that umpires bring to the game. That is why umpiring is an affinity space. Mind you, baseball is not just the major leagues. There are several levels of minor league baseball, college baseball, high school baseball, travel ball in the summers, and even rec leagues. And they all need umpires. I have found that umpires are some of the most interesting people I have ever met. Some are successful businessmen who umpire as a hobby. It is recreation for them. I have one friend who even gave up golf just so he could umpire. Others umpire because they depend on every dollar they earn from it. I even know some who are sort of like itinerant umpires who follow the big tournaments around the country. Most will never umpire above the travel ball or high school level, but they are happy with that. Others, mostly young guys, pursue it at the college level, while others will go to the professional umpire school and pay thousands of dollars, often more than one time, hoping to beat the long odds and be selected as a candidate for climbing the ladder of professional baseball. If they do, they face many hard years of low pay and constant travel and no guarantee of promotion. But some do make it, and usually have a 20 to 30 year career of Major League Baseball, the finest hotels, several weeks of vacation, and six-figure incomes. Interestingly, these guys are still a part of the umpire fraternity. Every year I meet and hear Major League umpires who come back, often for free, to speak to local umpire groups. They always express their admiration and appreciation for umpires who often work all day, sometimes 8 to 10 hours, out in the hot sun. Newbies and masters share a common space. Newbies who are enthusiastic are accommodated within the structure. The Major League umpire is as enthusiastic to work with newbies as they are with those who are more seasoned. One of the first things I learned when I began umpiring is a very non-digital portal into the umpire affinity space. Most ballparks have several fields, and they usually have designated umpire parking areas. Most umpires arrive at their first game about an hour before game time. Most arrive not in uniform, and most have lawn chairs. They spend the hour cleaning their shoes because self-respecting umpires are fastidious about their appearance. They compare equipment, which is usually organized in a particular fashion in their car, but mainly they talk umpiring. The parking area doubles as a dressing area and a boardroom. Tacit information is passed back and forth. Conversation may start with, "We had runners on first and second with one out, and the batter hit a ground ball up the middle," etc., etc. How would you have handled that? There's usually a lot of individual knowledge to be passed out, and sometimes there is sincere debate on the best way to interpret or apply a rule. Generally, seasoned umpires are very generous in their advice with newbies. They love baseball and feel like caretakers of the game, and they appreciate anyone else, regardless of their level of knowledge, who feels the same way. Distributed knowledge is available in more formal and often digital portals. At the beginning of every season, there are clinics and training for umpires to attend. Often, Major League and minor league umpires speak and will help out in workshops and how to use proper umpire mechanics. These clinics almost always provide review of the complicated baseball rules, as well as talking about any new rules that may have changed since last season. There are a myriad of digital portals for umpire involvement. There are several Facebook discussion sites for umpires to debate and discuss rules and game situations, and they're often quite busy. There are also websites where a sort of Dear Abby type person answers rules questions. In a related portal, there are books and publications that address umpire related issues. Finally, there are websites that specialize in umpire clothing and equipment and shoes. What are the education ramifications for the Umpire Affinity Space? Since affinity spaces revolve around a shared passion, the comparison of a classroom to an affinity space is not always apples to apples, since very few high school students are filled with classrooms full of lovers of Shakespeare. However, there are some aspects that might transfer from the umpire affinity space. A lot of umpiring relationships take on a mentor-mentee characteristic. In fact, my high school group formally assigns mentors to first-year umpires. Even if it couldn't be one-to-one situations because of the classroom structure, I think students would succeed better if there was a structure in place where proficient students could mentor those who are struggling. Usually, umpire mentoring takes place informally. For it to work in the classroom, I believe teachers would need to plan enough time for mentoring to be a little less specific, agenda-driven. In my student teaching experience, sometimes college students would return to their high school and tell the students what was really important in college. It might be an effective tool to arrange for Skype appointments for students who grasp the current lesson well. Similarly, peer feedback is very important in umpiring. Does my strike zone look okay? I'm a big believer in peer review. Sometimes the best umpire conversations involve debate and give and take, looking at a rule from different perspectives. What would be wrong with assigning one small group to read cliff notes about the literature being covered, and another group to read spark notes, and another to look at Schmoop? It's not like they aren't reading them already. And then have one group that doesn't look at anything and makes their own interpretation. That might add to their understanding and better realize how to analyze. And this is a picture of me as an umpire in the movie 42.